that you're better? Well, you better get ready. Bow to the masters. Break it down.
You already know what time it is. Welcome back to the SPT Podcast, Sports Pop Talk Radio. I am your host, RC. Please follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at SPT Podcast. And of course, you can also follow the show on Facebook and YouTube at Sports Pop Talk Radio. Coming to you today with the big trade news between the Las Vegas Raiders and the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys sending a first round pick in next year's NFL draft to the Las Vegas Raiders for Amari Cooper. As you can see, I am already calling the Oakland Raiders the Las Vegas Raiders due to the simple fact that once John Gruden decided to trade Khalil Mack to the Chicago Bears for a couple first round picks, a third and I believe a seventh round pick, this statement at John Gruden's introductory press conference for the Raiders became false.
And I love the city of Oakland. I had a son here. Some of my great memories in life are in Oakland. And I want to give them two of the best years of football that I can possibly help deliver.
Now, there's no question that I think John Gruden does love the city of Oakland. But to say you're here to give Oakland the two best years of football that he possibly can is just a flat out lie. You don't trade your best defensive player, maybe the best defensive player in the NFL, if you're trying to have the best two seasons possible in the next few years. That's simple and plain, and we all know that. So, of course, John Gruden had his press conference and said all the right things to get everyone excited. When I heard John Gruden say he wanted to have the best 2 years in Oakland, that really got me excited. I'm sure it got Raider fans excited to know that they weren't in the tanking mode. They were in win now mode, and we're going to do all they could do to have a great season this year. As we've seen since the Khalil Mack trade, that was a lie. John Gruden's plan going in to this Raiders job was to tank, and he got mad when he heard people saying he was tanking. He might not think that he's tanking, but what he is doing is tanking. It's not easy to tank. Ask the Philadelphia 76ers. There's a lot that goes into tanking. It's not just we're going to suck and we're going to get draft picks and everything's going to be smooth. No. There's a lot to go into tanking. As you can see with the Khalil Mack deal, they brought in a nice haul for Khalil Mack. I'm sure it wasn't easy to get the Bears to give up 4 draft picks, 2 first round picks for a guy like Khalil Mack. I'm sure there was many trade offers from many various teams that took hours upon hours of work to complete, and it's not easy. But in reality, you are tanking. You are sacrificing this season to get a high draft pick. You are sacrificing your best players, Khalil Mack and Amari Cooper, to get the best draft capital possible for the future. You are not in it for the Oakland Raider fans. You are in it for the Las Vegas Raider fans. So, from now forward, the Oakland Raiders, in my eyes, will be the Las Vegas Raiders. I will no longer call the Oakland Raiders the Oakland Raiders. They are the Las Vegas Raiders. John Gruden's plan is to have the best team possible moving forward into Las Vegas. It is not about the fans in Oakland. It is about the fans in Las Vegas. Like I said, you can just look at the tanking strategy by the Philadelphia 76ers. As you can see, now they have a very nice roster that can compete for a championship in the Eastern Conference. But even their tanking efforts had problems. As you can see with Markelle Fultz, they decided to trade up from the third pick to the first pick, giving up an extra first round pick to draft Markelle Fultz, who has turned out to not be such a good pick. They passed on Jason Tatum, which we all know Jason Tatum turned out to be a much better player than Markelle Fultz, and their tanking efforts were not 100% correct. And that can be a huge detriment to their franchise, as the Boston Celtics were able to pick up Jason Tatum. And now the Celtics have a higher projection moving forward than the Sixers do. With that being said, their tanking efforts were a success, but it's not easy to tank. You have to make the right draft picks, and you have to make the right trades. And as you can see with the Philadelphia 76ers, one bad move can cost you possibly multiple championships, as Jason Tatum is with the Celtics, and they will be favored to win multiple championships over the next few years in the same conference as the Philadelphia 76ers, where that one draft pick error might cost their whole tanking efforts to win a championship. So, John Gruden might not think he's tanking right now. No one says tanking is easy, but Gruden, we all know you are tanking this season and pretty much putting up a big middle finger to the fans of the Oakland Raiders. Now, the Las Vegas Raiders. Great strategy by Gruden, but definitely lying at the press conference. So, that's my thoughts on the Raiders end of the trade. I felt they got a good deal, getting a first round pick for Amari Cooper, who over the last 2 years has been declining in production. And now we can look at the Cowboys side of the trade, where the Dallas Cowboys gave up a first round pick in next year's draft. I feel it was a great move, actually, for the Cowboys. At first, when I heard the news, I didn't think so highly of the trade. But then digging a little bit deeper, realizing what the Cowboys were actually doing with this trade, I feel it was a great move for both ends, for the Raiders and for the Cowboys. For the Cowboys, we needed that number one receiver. There's not a really deep receiver class this year in college football. There's no standout receiver per se that we were targeting, so why not grab one of the top young receivers in the NFL now? Amari Cooper is, from what I understand, only about 6 months older than Calvin Ridley, who was one of the top receivers coming out of the draft last year. And over the next 2 years, we will be paying Amari Cooper an average of $7 million a year, which is a pretty good deal considering you're getting your number one receiver for the next 2 years at a salary of $7 million. Kansas City Chiefs are paying Sammy Watkins $15 million a year over the next few years. So I'd say getting Amari Cooper at $7 million a year is a pretty good deal. And one of the other main reasons I feel this is a great deal is because it puts pressure on Dak Prescott to succeed, as it gives him another weapon in the passing game. I still feel we are short at center position with Travis Frederick out, of course, and we do not have a tight end who can really help out Dak much now. But with a receiving group of Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, and Cole Beasley in the slot, I'd say that's a pretty solid receiving core to get the ball down the field and stretch it out a little bit, and maybe get some safeties out of the box to help Ezekiel Elliott find some running room, since our offensive line is not as strong as we hoped. And now for the number one reason why trading for Amari Cooper was the best move for the Dallas Cowboys is because if this does not work out and the Cowboys do not make the playoffs this year, it will be time to fire the Red Clapper, Jason Garrett. Jason Garrett has been underperforming, to say the least, this year. I feel costing us a few games, a few W's in the NFC East, and can definitely be one of the reasons we miss out on the playoffs. And it's time. It is time. If we do not make the playoffs, maybe even if we do make the playoffs, to move on from Jason Garrett. He has been a mediocre coach. He has a very good win percentage, I believe. But when it comes down to being a championship coach and creating a championship environment, it is something he has definitely fallen short of doing. We need a more aggressive coach who the players respect, someone who can take a risk every once in a while when you need to win a game, rather than sitting on the sidelines giving applause at every error and every mistake and every issue that we have. There's always a guy standing on the sidelines giving big claps. Just a great clapper. Number one clapping coach in the league. Best clapping coach in the league needs to go. It's time. We need a guy who can... I don't know who the guy is, unfortunately. There's got to be somebody out there who can do a better job than Jason Garrett. And if this Amari Cooper trade does not work out, it will be time for Jason Garrett to go. And I feel that is the number one reason why this trade was great for the Dallas Cowboys. Please leave your comments and questions and likes and subscribes if you'd like at SPT Podcast on Twitter and Instagram. And you can follow and like and subscribe and comment on our Facebook and YouTube page at Sports Pop Talk Radio. Thanks for joining the show. I am out.